Good morning to everyone, and welcome back to the Going On Daily live morning show. It is the Saturday edition. It is Explorers Week, and my co-host for this, my co-explorers this week. Thank God I have Lena Williams. Say good morning, Lena.
Hi, everybody.
And just fresh drinking his coffee, JP Marsh. Good morning.
Morning.
So, like I said, we are going to be continuing Explorers Week. And I guess what do we have to tell you to do right now? I'm going to give you all an assignment to explore, and that is our social medias. See how I did that right there? See?
I did.
Little segue. Okay. So, write this down, look on the screen, pick out your favorite. Here we go. Now, if you want to watch us live, now chances are you are watching us live if you're getting this, but you can go to YouTube, Rumble, or Kick, and that is at Rhode Island Broadcasting. If you want to watch us on Twitch, it's at RI_broadcasting. And, you don't even have to watch us. You want to take us with you. Just listen as you go on your day. The audio version is available on Spotify, Red Circle, TuneIn, or iHeartRadio. And that is at RI Broadcasting. Please follow us on our social media. We are on TikTok. We're on MeWe. We're on Blue Sky, Parler, and LinkedIn at RI Broadcasting. And remember, oh, I see I forgot one. I left out Twitter or X, whatever you're calling it.
Well, you did leave it. You didn't leave it out, but I guess we're live on there as well now. That's all.
I just saw the little note from Ron, and I went, oh, maybe I left it out.
Nope.
Twitter or X is at Broadcasting RI. We have a Facebook page just for this show. So you go to Facebook, and it's at Going On Daily Morning Show. If you want to help the show, and please, why wouldn't you? You want to go to Patreon at RI Broadcasting. Now you're sitting there going, that was a lot of information. There's a spot you can go to where you can get everything. Please, just go to our website, RhodeIslandBroadcasting.net. And there's some interesting stuff on there. You can see all the shows on the Rhode Island Broadcasting Network, as well as our vote for the Hall of Fame. There's a Hall of Fame poll, Best TV Show, and that's going to be up till the end of the month. So go there, place your vote. There's a lot of great shows up there. But like I said, we are continuing Explorers Week. It's Saturday, October 18th. Here's what we want you to know. Lena, first story's yours.
Okay. So being that I am fascinated with really strange people, there have been a few explorers that I've looked into over my research. One of my most fascinating characters has got to be Stockton Rush. It just has to be. With the exception, there are a couple of them, but he's probably up on the top of the list of like the most twisted. I don't know. Psychologically. Anyway, so long story short, for a very long time, we did not know anything about the Titanic, right? For years. And then I believe once there were several dives where we couldn't find it. We didn't know where it was. And at some point we did discover it, which is, of course, why the movie, Titanic came about and all that fun stuff. And I'm not trying to diminish it in any way, but I'm trying not to make it too long. So there's a guy by the name of Stockton Rush who has a company, or had a company. He's very much a past tense person for several reasons, but that had sort of like I would say in a way, like sort of like in Elon Musk deal where you get into a thing and you go up into space and you look around and go, that's great. It was that sort of an idea with something called the Titan sub. So everybody at this point kind of probably knows the short version of like what happened with the Titan sub. But I wanted to get a little bit into Stockton Rush and his life, his history, So I will do that now, just kind of give you some background on him. He was born in California in 1962. Early 1980s, he attended Princeton University and studied aerospace engineering. Mid 1980s, he worked as a pilot, trained in the military, jet operations, and he flied as a commercial pilot for a while. Late 18. I don't know what's going on with me. Everything is 18. I think we're going to go back 100 years in my head. Late
Okay.
1980s, 1990s. Maybe the coffee is not kicked in yet. He shifts careers into technology and investing, and he founds a venture investment firm, right? So then 2009, here he is going through his life. He founds OceanGate, which is the company that, like I said, it's just, I don't know why I'm just dumbfounded by this whole project of his. And it was in Washington state, with the goal of expanding access to deep ocean exploration for science and private missions. Possibly, a fascinating hobby of his or something he wanted to get into. In 2015 and 2018, he oversees development for test dives of earlier OceanGate submersibles, the Cyclops class and other ones. And if you have, a bunch of time to spare, you can go and look at some of the older models of submarines that he had built, and either they were successful or they didn't finish the test and he never completed.
They were small too.
Right. I mean, it's just, I just looking at those things, and maybe it's just me, but like I said, the personality on him. I really wish that they could study like just his personality, because like when I look at some of the stuff that he built, I'm like, it makes me like, I feel like I can't breathe just looking at some of this stuff.
I agree.
But I get it that it had to be as lightweight and as compact as possible, I guess, for him to do what he had to do. So he leads the development of the Titan between 2018 and 2020. And that's a carbon fiber compostable, composite, deep sea sub-design to reach Titanic depths, because this is his thing. We know where the Titanic is now. And let's focus on maybe going down and looking at the Titanic kind of as a recreational thing in a way. He launches the first commercial expedition, dives to Titanic with Titan. He adopts, this is in 2021, he adopts a rapid iteration approach rather than traditional marine classification. And mostly this just means, I know what it sounds like when this thing isn't working. And so when it's not working, and I feel like it's not working, I hear something I don't like, or whatever the case may be, we pull it up. That was his kind of, not his whole philosophy, but that had a lot to do with why he kept diving. So between 2021 and 2023, he publicly started to defend the design approach and rejecting conventional certification processes as stifling innovation.
Ridiculous.
So it's just crazy to me that this man not only thought, hey, if you want to dive down and look at the Titanic and you want to die down there, and when I tell you, if you look at old videos of his, he was fine with that. He was very fine with that. I can't imagine a personality where that was okay. Although I think that he had, I want to say it's narcissistic personality, but he had some type of a disorder where he didn't think it was going to happen, like ever, anyway. But just to see him sitting in there and going as far down as he did in like shorts and without shoes on, it's crazy to see it. Anyway, in 2024, he of course dies in the Titan implosion on a descent to Titanic wreck along with 4 passengers. Now, you probably saw that in the news. That's the part everybody knows.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
But there have been several investigations into this after, of course, his death. And like I said, he if you want to take yourself down there and act like a fool, that's fine.
And you have $250,000 to give him.
Right. And so he was making a lot of money for people to go down and look at this. And I almost kind of am on the fence about the adults that were there. But they took a kid down there, and that will just never, So anyway, the timeline on the Titan, beginning in 2021, they started paying passengers on dives to Titanic wreck, right? So multiple Titanic expeditions conducted. There were some technical issues reported, but operations kept continuing. And when you go back and look, there's probably 3 major documentaries now about like what was going on inside OceanGate.
Right.
And I mean, when I tell you the Coast Guard got involved, I mean, a bunch of people got involved. There were some people there were some major companies that just like pulled out of this because they were like, he did not want to see reports indicating anything was wrong with anything. And you would think if you brought in a bunch of people that were oceanographers and people that were involved in submarine, and just dealing with more maritime stuff, that they're going to, it's just like an airplane or anything else. It's processed to sort of put stuff through the channels and say, let's look at this again. Maybe we want to.
Right. That's why you pay these people to help you.
Right. He paid them all, but had no interest in the results.
Yep.
Did not want to hear it. So this is, like I said, a crazy thing to me, right? But safety has to be first with paying passengers. But like I said, there's some crazy stuff that he did in these documentaries where you see it, where he like made them staff in order to get past safety regulations, things like that. It just, anyway. So in the morning of 2023, June 18th, it deported it deports for a dive to the Titanic site, 435 miles south of Newfoundland. 2 hours into the descent, communication with the surface support vessel is lost. And there's videos you can see where he has gone down and he has come up safely, but there's been like concerning noise coming from this thing that he didn't even flip. Like I said, he was probably in this thing so much that he didn't care. I don't know. But some of the noises, it's just like, I can't, you know what I mean? It's so unfathomable to me. Anyway, so the Titan is officially reported overdue by like the afternoon, and large multinational search begins for this thing. On June 22nd, the debris field located, right? They found it. Authorities concluded that it suffered a catastrophic implosion, killing all live board. Now, if you see the videos, you can actually see them sitting at the control panel as this thing goes down, and there's a noise at some point where they're talking again. They're like, what was that? It was a really big bam. So I guess they weren't sure at first. They probably had never heard anything like that before, because of course you can't hear it more than twice or more than once. And so OceanGate suspends operations as of July 2023 and winds down the company. I mean, what else are they going to do? In August 2023, the U.S. Coast Guard releases a report calling the implosion preventable, cites critical safety failures.
Yep.
And then lawsuits and regulatory calls escalate, investigations continue. Of course, the families of these people are like, there are a couple guys that also decided against going that they talked to that are really shook about that. NTSB found, and this is October 2024, the final report released, it concluded that the implosion was caused by faulty engineering, inadequate testing, and recommends Coast Guard regulatory action. Now, we all know, like, common sense wise, that this was preventable to some extent, but for the sake of history and technology and innovation, they have to do, and these lawsuits, they have to do several reports on this.
Of course.
And a lot of different agencies have to do that. So according to a CNN article, this is 2 days ago or 3 days ago that this came out. Final report concludes that the 2023 Titan submersible implosion was caused by faulty engineering in a carbon fiber hull that had structural anomalies and failed to meet strength and durability requirements. And when you go, I don't know a lot about it, but just to kind of look up some information, there is a ridiculous amount of pressure on these things after a certain amount of depth. It's just all around the device, or whatever you want to call it, the submersible, to the point where like he wanted it to be carbon fiber for it to be light and easy. But then when you look at these documentaries, you see some of the stuff they did to store this thing. Like I can't even. I would not do what he did with this thing with my car.
Right.
I just like I said. So where do you draw the line? Anyway, they found that the sub likely would have been located sooner if the OceanGate had followed standard emergency response protocols. A rescue would not have been possible. They would have at least had 3 days in advance on what took place. That they didn't follow that law, or they didn't follow that rule. The findings, the line with the Coast Guard report that said the disaster was preventable, and critically flawed safety practices were in place. It killed all 5 aboard, including Stockton Rush, which he was more than happy to go anyway. So okay.
Yep.
Explorer Paul Henry, Nargiole. Now let me see if I can. I don't want to mispronounce. Adventure Harnish Harding, and Pakistani businessman. Here we go. It's like Shazadoa. Like I said, I don't.
Good luck.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
there you go.
Anyway, they ceased operations shortly after. Blah blah blah. Then the NSP. They need to like create regulations based on what happened. Is the bottom line. So they have to have an answer, and there are some of the loss of the court dates and things. People coming in and talking about what happened, working with him, and all that. That stuff is in. I think probably all 3 documentaries. One's on Netflix, one's on Hulu, and I think there was like a Nat Geo one or an HBO Max one. But it had been diving to the Titanic since 2021, and its last dive it ended in loss of contact, and of course a multi-day international search. So much money and so much time. But like I said, if we could have saved Stockton Rush's brain, I would have loved for them to study it, because I, honest to God, cannot understand how somebody could start from. And I get it. He kept, he had a saying like, you have to be able to take risks in this business, and we're not going to get anywhere. Like he thought that there was this, like, down the line, something was going to happen that was going to create this business, and they were going to look back on these things as well, if I had stopped.
He wanted to be Howard Hughes. I mean, he probably lived his life wanting to be infamous like Howard Hughes. I mean, with the same personality. I mean, you had a guy that was reckless with airplanes. This was just a guy reckless with submarines.
It's just,
but at the same time, I mean, he wasn't interested in, every time he'd go down and bring it back up. It's not like he was going through and overhauling the entire thing.
No.
Like
that's the problem.
So that little bit of stress each time that he went down on something that probably wasn't strong enough to do it at the beginning.
The same submersible down after he knew it had flaws is crazy. I can understand saying, well, I don't want to fix what I already know. Let's build a new one. He didn't do that. He's just like, let's take the same one that we already know we've heard cracks and all this kind of stuff going on. And then,
that's what we don't understand, which is it made 13 successful dives.
Right.
And each time, okay, you sit there and go, well, in my notes, this happened. We have to work on this. This happened. It worked. We're done. That's it. That's not how it works. His whole
thing was, let's not fix it. Let's just take it down again. But we'll be able to get ahead of it if it starts to go bad. It's like and again, like I said, when you see this documentary and you see how they stored this thing in winter temperatures, it's insanity. It's just insanity. Like, they just left it in a parking lot. Like, I just can't understand. So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, what, not to diagnose anybody that we don't know, because that's not very nice, but, like, what on earth is this guy's identification with himself that made him think this made sense?
Well, even if it failed, he still lives forever.
Yeah,
I guess, but it's kind of like, for what? For being kind of.
But you look at a lot of different scenarios with people that have the same sort of delusional outcome. You know what I mean? Right. I will be infamous like Billy the Kid, and that people will know me for the rest of time.
I guess,
even knowing it's not true. You know what I mean? Like, the people that do these horrific things, with the schools and these different things, if they didn't glorify the people and make them, plastered all over every television across the whole country and world.
Right.
Is that half of the reason? Is that why they're doing it in specific way? You know what I mean? Like, the infamous part of it. Oh, I'll be like Billy the Kid, and I'll be like Howard Hughes, and I'll be like,
I guess.
People will talk about me forever, and it's the attention span of people nowadays. That's not the case.
I think even Lockheed Martin, they were like, we'll see. Like, I think they were involved at one point. They were like,
well, that's just it. You see, right now we have the billionaire space race where everybody's, fighting. Have you heard of anybody doing this before or after he created this?
I mean, there are some things up that go up in the air that are test flights for Elon that kind of, he doesn't put anybody in them.
Right.
But some of them are exploding and falling all over the place. So
I think space is easier than the ocean because you're not dealing with the same kind of pressure. I mean, there's not a lot of things that are going to be able to go that deep without getting scrunched like a pop can because of all the pressure.
Right. It's just so like
the
I said,
worst thing that happened is he actually succeeded. It actually worked. And like you said before, even on that fateful day when it exploded or imploded, I should say, he could have called for help and didn't. And that goes back to what you were saying, his mindset. We can fix it. We can fix it. Don't worry.
Right. So yeah, he was successful, but now why not take the successful drops that you did do and then create a plan based on, okay, well, we got there, we saw what we had to see, we have footage of this, we have footage of that. Let's make it safer. Let's build something that's more, you know what I mean? It's just like I said, it's just his personality is just fascinating to me in that he was screaming and yelling and tossing things. There were people that worked for him that just left because he was a tyrant. Like he just would have tantrums over stuff. And so like how if your personality inhibits your life, great. That's what you want to do. And people walk away from you and you end up with nobody that likes you. That's fine. It's your choice. But to start dragging other people into it, like where does the line, where's the moralic line about like where does it end where you start saying, well, I'm not going to put other people into danger. I get that I want to be in danger.
But you have like seemingly smart, rich people who show up and look at this thing and they still think, oh yeah, that's safe enough. I'll go.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I'll take my kid with me. No big deal.
Yeah.
I got billions of dollars or whatever. Like I got enough money to buy my way out of death, I guess. I mean, I can't the worst part is the kid wasn't supposed to be there. It was supposed to be his wife. And she canceled the day before or something. Yeah. Or like a couple days before. And so like the kid wasn't even supposed to be there.
Right.
And I don't even think he wanted to go.
It's just so I mean it's just like a cautionary tale of something, but like we have to take from it what can we learn from this? Like there's probably several things we can learn from this. But like when you get enough money and you're eccentric enough, like there should be some checks and balances on you. And when everybody's trying to put them on you and you say, well, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
Well, you surround yourself. It's not that much different than actors, producers, musicians, athletes.
Right. Yeah.
If you got people that do nothing but say yes to you for 10, 15, 20 years straight, you're never going to listen to somebody that says no. You're just going to disregard them. Because your arrogance and your pride will tell you that you're right because everybody else is always telling you you're right.
At some point, Kanye West, we will have a cautionary tale about him because this is what happens with him.
Right.
Hey, I got enough money to hand somebody something to change my no to a yes.
Right.
And I don't feel like taking my meds because they bother me. And so I just want everybody around me to like worship me and tell me how great I am no matter what I do.
I can do whatever I want. And it just gets more and more reckless. I mean, look at P. Diddy, look at Harvey Weinstein, look at all of these other people who, look at the opioid crisis with all the doctors. Oh, I get this, so I'll just keep prescribing. Nobody was ever held accountable or wasn't for a long time.
Yep.
And
anybody who ever says
everything just keeps getting worse and worse and more extreme because you keep hearing yes, no matter how far from reality you've diverted yourself and way of thinking.
And you know what? Yes, Ron, Kanye can donate $10 million to us. He does do some off-the-cuff things, but if you would do some off-the-cuff things that would like benefit somebody, that would be nice.
Well, when you start the sentence with, "I believe I'm untouchable, I'm above the law," then you should know in your head, I've gone over the deep end.
But that's the thing, right? That's what they say about these egotistical personalities is that if you have any kind of self-check in place, then you obviously don't have that problem. Those people don't check themselves. They don't ever say, "Am I being crazy? Am I?" Like they don't do that.
And they won't listen to the people that would be honest with them. They cut those people out of their lives.
Right.
Because it's not.
They double down.
Then you get managers, agents, whatever, all these other people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't listen to them. You shouldn't listen to them." And then sooner or later, you just won't. Oh, don't listen to they just want to use you for your money. You know what I mean? And then you start believing all these weird.
Right.
And then you throw in a little bit of mental health issues with some of these people and give them a bunch of money and a bunch of power and a bunch of pride and a bunch of non-limits on anything that they want to do.
I mean,
and it just turns bad.
Ira and I had a conversation.
Yes, Ron. Yes, Steven Seagal was from so long.
Yes, he was.
God, that's bad.
I know. But Ira and I had a conversation about Jerry Maguire. I think this is it's our movie that we took several things from. And one of them was like that, even though it was a depicted thing, to actually say, okay, I'm a sports agent, but in real life, why don't I act like a person and care about my clients? And like how that just doesn't, people just toss you for that. Like, I don't know. Like I said, it probably wasn't exactly the way it was told, but like that's kind of the way it is, where if like you decide that you want to be nice to people, you know, and not your profit isn't your priority, and then you're like just like you're setting yourself up for like just being discarded. So, you know, even if you are a person who has a conscience and at one point decides, I'm going to be a better person, you know, how much money is it going to cost you? Of course, I think this guy had enough money to spend to change his ways.
Well, most of them do, but you're still building your entire world around you on a house of cards that as soon as one gets kicked over, everything is going to crumble. I mean, there's tons of athletes that were really good athletes and made a lot of money, but aren't coaches, don't do anything now because nobody wants to deal with them because they had that arrogance and this, you know, I'm better than everybody, pay attention to me, all these different things.
Right.
And so it's not a longevity kind of deal. I mean, there's, you know, I would say, unless somebody has a lot of awareness, most people who are, you know, super rich are surrounded by people who do nothing but say yes.
Actually, you know, I was going to say, I do believe that in some instances, this goes for musicians, this goes for celebrities. In some instances, you have to almost have this crazy egotistical attitude to actually be there in the first place. But
what I was going to say is, where is that thin line between confidence and pushing boundaries versus this is insane? You know, this is arrogant.
Well, I mean, if you're sitting there and you're forcing the you know, if you're an actor, a huge actor, and everybody around you saying yes, I mean, at some point when you're telling the ADs that they can't bring you green, they have to pick out all the green M&Ms out of the M&Ms, and when you get
that's a Van Halen story.
When you get done with your shoot or whatever, and you're going back to your trailer, it has to look a certain way and be exactly this temperature, or else you throw a fit and you're not coming out of the trailer the next day. Like that's when you've passed the point of having that person, the people around you that can tell you.
I agree.
Knock it off. You know what I mean?
By the way, that Van Halen story though was actually, if you know the full story of the green M&Ms.
Yeah.
I bet you Elena does.
Actually.
But there's been, you know, I mean, I say that, but I mean, it's a metaphor for all of these different singers and actors that you hear all these stories about, and politicians now are doing the same thing. I mean, you hear about what the assistants and they have to have this kind of water sitting at this place, and if they're not sitting in this chair, then they're not going to do it, and they're not going to show up, and blah 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 blah.
Like,
and it's just like
a narcissistic. Again, I was raised by what I believe is a cluster B parent. So, you know, there are certain things that they do to leverage their power, and I don't know. Sometimes I think in the beginning they're trying to make sure people don't mistake them for weak or don't not take them seriously or whatever it is. And some of these personalities can go off the deep end if nobody ever stops them in their tracks about that stuff. It gets way overblown, and the more money involved and the more. And
then they isolate themselves more and more and push the people that would keep them in check away because they don't want to hear it. Oh, I'm too powerful now. I'm successful. You're nothing. Don't tell me. This is crazy. This is just me. I'll do what I want. You know what I mean?
If you're a person who says, like, don't get me wrong, don't be a people pleaser either, where you're just throwing yourself away over stuff. Everything is Goldilocks. Everything has a balance. And so you have to say, well, I want to make sure that people understand that I have to stand for myself and what I believe in. But I also want to make sure that, like, you have to love yourself, but you also have to respect others, and there has to be a balance of the two of those going on. And
I agree.
somehow people's just their balances are out of whack in both directions.
happens.
And
Well,
so
now,
anyway,
we're going to continue exploring. We dealt with water, we dealt with the oceans, and now I'm going to take you to space.
Take me to space,
now,
Ira.
We all know. Does everybody know the first cosmonaut to orbit the Earth? Does anybody know the name off the top of their head?
You talking about the dog?
No.
Okay.
Talking about Yuri Gagarin.
Nope.
Who that was the first person cosmonaut in 1961, and Alan Shepard was the first U.S. And then, of course, Neil Armstrong landed on the moon.
Right.
But before that happened, see, those people were volunteers. I'm here to tell you about people who went to space but had no choice, and that is the animals.
Yeah.
They had no choice. See, you brought up the dog. So far, there have been about 642 people who have been to space, but there have been literally thousands. I mean, most of those, when you're counting insects, that gets higher up. In 1947, the space race technically started when the U.S. 1947 sent fruit flies into space. They went 68 miles up, and they just wanted to see if they would survive. And guess what? They actually did. They wanted to check the radiation levels. There was a reason for doing this. So I'm going to do all the animals and insects that went up there before a human went up. And again, had no choice. And let's see the outcome. 1948, we sent the first rhesus monkey. His name was Albert, by the way. Nobody knows Albert, but Albert was the first monkey. And unfortunately, he passed away. But he was the first mammal launched into space. But nobody knows Albert. After that, they kept launching them. In 1949 alone, they launched 3 separate missions to space, each one with a rhesus monkey, and each one died for different reasons. Now, I didn't realize I was going to do this, but I'm marrying this now with Lena, your story. Okay, the first one died. There was a malfunction in the parachute. Guess what didn't happen the next time? They fixed that. There was another issue. Then they would fix that. So this is how we learned, which goes back to, your guy just being delusional and not fixing anything. Rhesus monkey, was he made of peanut butter? Thank you, Ron. Okay.
A brief laugh in the darkness.
Yeah, you got to laugh and stop from crying. And then in 1951, Russia sent up dogs for the first time. They were Dzik and Sizkin. They actually had names. We should remember these things. They were the first mammals to return alive after an orbital flight. And then, of course, they sent up Laika.
Yeah, Laika's the
and
one.
Laika was the one that we all know of. And she went up in Sputnik 2. And she was the first living being to orbit and then come back. And unfortunately, she passed away as well. Then they started saying, okay, we sent dogs, we sent monkeys, who are supposed to be as close to humans as possible. For some reason, then they decided to send up different things. Let's see, in 1958, they did send up a squirrel monkey. They wanted to find out how it would react. So they sent up this squirrel monkey, by the way, by itself.
Yeah,
just not a bunch of monkeys. This one monkey to see the psychology of how the monkey's going to react. To me, that's a bit cruel.
It's cruel and it's weird, and I don't know how they would have gotten any results out of that. Like, how did they actually gauge it?
Yeah, when he comes back, you can't have a conversation and debrief him. Yeah. Well, what were you feeling on day 14? What were you
Maybe
feeling?
They have video of it, but I doubt that they really got any, this poor little dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And it was really, I got into this because I love space. I love animals. I started reading it. And as Lena would say, I sort of fell down the rabbit hole. No pun intended to the rabbit. But then I started seeing how many of these did not return alive. And it got very sad. So let's see. We went to 1959. They sent up more monkeys. This time it was a rhesus monkey and a squirrel monkey. One survived, one died. Let's see. I'm trying to get to the good stuff, which I didn't. Oh, here we go. 1960. They finally decided to send up something different. And that's when they started with mice and rats. They all survived. And don't worry, I'm going to get to the point of why they're sending them up. I just wanted to, these animals never got any due. It was just, we sent them up there. They didn't volunteer.
No.
It's amazing that they sent them up. In 1961, they sent up Enos the chimpanzee. He was the first primate to orbit Earth. And they wanted to see if he could actually help the pilots. That's the first time they wanted a monkey to go up there and see if they could teach him to pilot or assist the pilot. So at that point, it was a precursor to, well, we're going to send up a human. Let's see if we can get the monkey to hit the red button and the blue button and see what happens there. 1966 was the only time they sent a cat up into space. Francine was a cat who they sent up. The only time they sent it up, this was cruel to me. The cat came back and they euthanized it to study its brain.
Yeah.
So they knew they were sending it up just to bring it back to study its brain. What information do you think you're going to get off of that?
I don't think they got anything from it. But it's easy because, hey, if you don't have consent, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, pretty much. And then they started sending up tortoises and flies and worms. They sent up plants, fungi, microorganisms, wasps, ants, brine shrimp, geckos, quail eggs, jellyfish, crickets, snails, fish, frogs, newts, beetles, and silkworms.
So I'm the kind of person who hears all this, and I'm like trying to figure out how, like, what were they in? Were they like a terrarium? Were they in like a jar? Like, I'm trying to figure out. Like,
I'm sure a lot of them were in.
Just put
Let's put it this way: I'm sure they spent more money for their habitats than the sub that blew up.
I guess.
Crazy. Ron is saying, "What a waste of money." But now, let me tell you why they sent those animals up there. They wanted to test first how animals would react in microgravity. Okay, that was the first precursor to sending man up. We want to see how an animal will react before that. Then they started examining bone density and muscle atrophy in space flight. Then, like I said, they wanted the monkeys to actually perform tasks to see if they... By the way, do you think we'll ever get to a point where they will send up just a monkey who can control everything?
I don't know why at this point they're sending any people up at all with what they're trying to get. Like they don't need anything human or anything living in these things at this point.
So if you send up Katy Perry, she can do the same as a monkey.
I mean, they're sending people up for like the recreation of it. So you got like Shatner and all that, but to see something that they want to see. But when you're trying to like do space exploration and you're trying to figure out what's going on with Mars or whatever, at this point they don't need people for that.
Right.
Then
they brought up they're checking on reproduction and gene expression in microgravity. Monkeys use computers in super crap movie. Okay, I don't know what movie you're referring to, Ron. Then they're checking the immune system in space, regeneration, T-cell functions, respiratory viral infections. They're studying cardiac function, disease, everything in gravity. They're studying the impact of ovarian functions, fertility, hormone signaling, bone health. And it sounds like when you're looking at this, it almost sounds like, hey, we're going to live in space eventually. We have to know everything we can. Is that the end game to this?
I mean, why wouldn't it be? I'm not saying that we're going to, but I would totally see that. Like I don't know what organizations did this, but I know with NASA, I mean, that would be their objectives. If there's no war living on Earth for some reason, what are our
it was right
options?
after the nuclear age started, so I think the assumption is they needed an escape plan of some sort.
Right.
If the whole
And they're still
world,
looking for one.
because I mean, it was 1916-ish and then 1940s. There was 2 world wars within 30, 40 years. So odds are there's going to be another one, sometime 70s, 80s.
Also, I believe in to some degree on the back end, the industrial complex theory, meaning that once World War II wound down, they just needed something to do to keep people busy and pay them for jobs.
Right.
And NASA was a really fun way to create a center and a bunch of employee. I mean, don't get me wrong, NASA did some amazing stuff. So the scientists they brought in and all the kind of stuff that they did was good stuff. So I'm not saying it's wrong, but it may have been a pet project that they launched after World War II because of the fact that we weren't building tanks or we weren't riveting, that kind of stuff wasn't happening anymore. And they needed like a playground for people to put buildings up and study things and whatever.
Yeah. And you really didn't want another country being able to orbit over top of us and drop whatever they wanted to either. Yeah.
We also had a fear of like a really big fear of aliens in the 50s that got out of control.
Right.
So.
But what is the rush? Is the rush going to? Everyone's talking about Mars, space stations on the moon, all that. Is the rush to we want to go out and explore and see what is beyond us, or is it just we're destroying this planet and let's move on to another one to destroy?
I don't think it's one or the other.
I need the why.
I don't think it's one or the other.
I think it's just the way that human beings are. I mean, it's not any different than when we left Europe and went to the United States and then kept going and kept going and kept going. Now there's nowhere else to go on Earth. So then you either go up or down, which they're probably doing both.
Definitely, we need to know everything about everything for sure.
Right.
And we are rubberneckers all the way.
Except
from
ourselves.
Car accident to everything else.
Yeah.
So all this is based on curiosity, is what you're saying.
I think some of it is, but also there are people that are like, to bring up the thing because it's horror month. They're like Doc, who's studying things and seeing the trajectory of where it's going to be, and freaking out over it. Where most people are just kind of getting up and going to work every day and doing their own thing. There are people who are looking at the statistics and the trajectories of like where they think we're going to be in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So I don't think it's one why. I think it's depends on who you're asking and who's doing the looking and the investigating. Right. So I think it's several things.
But I guess going back to your original story, why would that gentleman? Why are we going down to visit the Titanic? It wasn't money. Was it just to say, look at me, look what I can do?
Was it money though? Was it not money though? I don't know.
I don't know. It's such a small amount.
I don't think he was trying to discover anything. I mean, obviously, I put him in the explorer category, but I'm not sure that he really fits there. And other than maybe he was going to go from the Titanic once it kind of had its day to like, okay, what else can we look for? I mean, I'm not sure. I think they went down to a couple different wrecks, but they may have wanted to dominate like that industry of like, all right, let's go see whatever's down there. Let's go see everything, and this is the company for that. Maybe that was his vision. I don't know.
Well, it's the race for the electric car, same kind of deal. Everybody instantly thinks of this when you hear electric car. You want to be the Boeing of the sea or the whatever.
And then you find out how bad the electric car actually can be. Go down that rabbit hole.
We've talked about this a million times, like AI, right? People are they so fascinated with getting like their foothold in that they're not interested in safety. They're not interested in studying whether something's going to work, whether it's going to cause things to be worse.
Well, it's I call it the Jurassic Park mentality. So distracted on whether or not you can, you don't think about whether or not you should.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the complications and the side effects and all of these outside of your tunnel vision of whether or not you can do it or be first or be the best, all side effects and all other catastrophes that are going to come from it are completely ignored and blinded. You know, you're blind to it all because you're so, you know, some of these people are so tunnel vision on this is my goal. I don't care what it's going to take, you know, to be the best, be the first, you know, finish the goal, whatever, that all of these other, you know,
I used to have a boss.
Everybody wants electric cars, but everybody disregards all the stuff that it takes to go into them, you know, and everybody wants this, you know, the AI, but then you have all of this stuff that's on the side of it that's being created or, you know, disingenuous because all these people are building these things to take advantage of people, you know, whether it be monetarily, emotionally, whatever, building these entire, you know, having AI actresses and all of these different things that look real. And you're not telling people that it's completely fake. And then it's generating all of this money under false pretenses. You know, I don't think that was necessarily something that they were thinking was going to start happening, but
I don't know why
there's no labels on all these pictures. There's no labels on all of this content. There's nothing that
it's so weird
distinguishes
to me that, like, people wouldn't that and I'm not saying I'm not no genius, but I'm like the queen of contingency. Like I always try to figure out, well, what will happen if I do this? What are the consequences of stuff? Like it looks fine now.
Right.
But this stuff could do this, it could do that. I mean, they're creating human beings because they're sick and tired of paying it. And I get it. Actresses and actors have had a lot of money thrown at them over the years. I get it.
Yes.
I don't agree that the studios, just like in the music industry, because right now the music industry is the same, where if you're not on tour, you don't make money. That's it.
Right.
Like you're just not. There's no profit in it anymore.
Right.
So everybody squeezes every last dollar out of it, and then what? Right.
Right.
And I get it because what happened was in the music industry, in my opinion, that some of those sharing applications came along because it was a lot of money at one time. They made you, hey, if you want a one track, you got to buy an album. It's $25, and this one track is something you're going to get, but we won't give it to you any other way. Or if you want to buy it by itself, then we're going to charge you double for it. People started doing that because they got sick and tired of, you know, getting fleeced for one song.
Right.
So, and believe me, I know because I bought several albums for 2 songs at a time or whatever it was. I got my whole shed is full of, you know, the album with 2 tracks on it. So
even iTunes started like that. I mean, you could buy one song for $4 or whatever it was, or buy the whole album for 12.
Right. Yep.
Oh God, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Okay,
so it's. I mean, it's what I'm saying is I get that. I don't think what they're doing is the solution, but I get that the studios, the actual studios and the industry is trying to get a lesser cost on actresses and actors, which is why we went through that whole writers and actors strike. However, I don't think they need the money.
Right.
You know, I get it that like entertainment maybe should be cheaper for people watching it, maybe for people enjoying it. But like, I don't think that the other side of the coin where the industries and the conglomerates are, that's not where the money should be going.
That's what they do with sports, where you have, people complain about the athletes getting millions of dollars, but the point is you're lining the owners, the billionaires' pockets. So you're saying it's okay for the billionaires to have it, but don't share the wealth?
Right. So, I mean, I believe that a lot of that huge amount of money should come out of that industry and be handed back to a lot of the people who support the industry.
Yeah.
So I just, you know, yes, it is paying $500 for a concert ticket, Ron, but I got to tell you that it's not that simple. And now, if you're Taylor Swift or if you're Lady Gaga or if you're anybody, you cannot tour right now without, the Ticketmaster live,
Right.
Live Nation nonsense.
Yep.
You cannot. All those venues are in their pocket, and they won't let you come in if you don't go their way. And then once you do,
yeah, I mean, if you're that big, yeah,
Right.
and I mean, you kind of have to make a decision too, as the consumer, of how much
right.
do you
we do.
want to give to somebody who doesn't care about you and doesn't
I
even know
agree.
that you exist, whether it's a sports team, whether it's a movie franchise, whether it's an singer,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. I mean, you're dedicating a ton of money now and a ton of mental health and a ton of, all of this stuff. I mean, you look at football season where people's moods depend on
Right.
one day a week, whether their
Yeah.
team wins or loses. And I mean, you're
Yes.
talking about a big waste of life too, because you're wasting, most people that are super into NFL or super into college football, you're wasting every waking moment of your time off of work,
Right.
watching sports of teams that don't even know that you exist. And you're buying their merchandise and you're paying for the TV channels and you're doing all these things.
Joy. Come on.
If they win.
No, I'm a Jet fan. We never win. I'm okay with it.
But I mean,
I'm from New England.
there's a million things that you can do to make your life better
during
that 48 hours, 80-hour weekends that you're.
But I'm in
I watch one game.
You can't tell anybody in New England. You can't talk to people in New England. They're insane.
Right.
They're insane like that.
Oh yes.
If you've ever,
but
met
I mean, there are,
you know what I'm saying?
But there are things that are still combating the Ticketmaster, the big pricey venue type stuff.
Hi, down, Ron.
The lottery just opened up for the Savannah Bananas for their next season, and their ticket deal is through them. There is no Ticketmaster. There is no anything else. And it's a lottery to get tickets through them. And they expanded and they have a game closer to where I live and all these different things. And so there are, that is the biggest sports franchise in the world right now.
It is crazy.
Or in the country, for sure.
I learned about that once and I was like, this is insane.
Oh, it is.
So they're selling out college football stadiums.
It's nuts.
They have explored new avenues, just as we have gone on, and we have discussed the water, and we have discussed space, and now JP, you're going to take us on land.
Yeah. So one of the biggest land explorations that we've had in the United States actually runs basically through my backyard. It would be the Lewis and Clark expedition from 1804 to 1806, also known as the Corpse of Discovery expedition. The leaders of the expedition, obviously, it's the Oregon Trail, essentially. But it's, them exploring the Louisiana Purchase. The leaders were obviously Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, commissioned by President Thomas Jefferson. The purpose was to explore the newly acquired Louisiana territory, which was pretty much Texas straight up to North Dakota, all the way to the Pacific Ocean, to an extent. Find the best route to the Pacific Ocean, establish a U.S. presence before European powers could claim it. It lasted for 2 years, and the total distance was over 8,000 miles round trip. And so you're talking about it, and it was 45 men who basically walked 8,000 miles over 2 years to the ocean and back. Wow. And made maps and categorized. They started at Camp Dubois near St. Louis, traveling up the Missouri River with about 45 men. Their goal was to map the region and gather information on plants, animals, and Native American tribes, because they knew that there was something, The first winter, they were in Fort Mandan, 1804 to 1805. They built Fort Mandan in present-day North Dakota, met and befriended the Mandan and Hidatsa tribes, hired Toussaint Charbonneau and his wife Sacagawea, who became a translator and guide, which, Sacagawea to most everybody's heard the name, at least in the United States, that has any recollection of history class. So then, crossing the Rocky Mountains after navigating the Missouri River to its headwaters, the Corps crossed the Bitterroot Range to help from the Shoshone Sacagawea's people. The crossing was extremely difficult due to snow, starvation, and rugged terrain. They reached the Pacific Ocean in 1805. They followed the Columbia River to the Pacific Ocean, finally reaching the coast near present-day Astoria, Oregon, which Astoria, Oregon has a massive fort that's still there. And they do they have all the reenactment people. So like when you go there and visit it, they have the fur traders and they have the people, iron blacksmiths and doing all that stuff that look like they're in the 1800s. Built Fort Clatsop, that's what it's called, and spent the winter there. The return journey divided into smaller groups to explore more territory on the way back. Discovered new routes, including Lewis' exploration of the Marias River and Clark's route along the Yellowstone River. Returned to St. Louis, September 1806, greeted as national heroes. The scientific and cultural achievements mapped vast new territories and created over 140 maps, documented 120 plus animal species, 200 plus plant species previously unknown to science, established relations with more than 50 Native American tribes, proved that there was no simple water route across the continent, but gathered vital geographic knowledge. Paved the way for westward expansion and settlement, strengthened U.S. claims to the Pacific Northwest. Sacagawea's role became a lasting symbol of cooperation and courage. And so is, the Oregon Trail. And then, so they paved the way and figured out, found routes that you could get through the Rocky Mountains and get through to the ocean, because going through Nevada wasn't really an option. I mean, you weren't going to survive that desert because there's nothing, the Southwest, you weren't really, till they got the trains and stuff going through there, you weren't really walking through there because there's no water, there's no food, there's no animals. It's just hot. And then, after they explored it, mapped it, did all that stuff, that's when they started sending the land plots for free land all over the world, especially to Eastern European and, Germany type area places, to get more population there so that it couldn't be taken from us by other continents or countries creator, But up until that point, nobody had really gotten any farther than St. Louis. I mean, Missouri was as far west as the settlers had even gotten.
That is the biggest exploration across the United States ever.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Pretty interesting.
I enjoyed that. Now, it's funny because I knew that they had to have brought more people with them, but all we were ever taught is basically Lewis, Clark, and Sacagawea. But there were, what did you say, 40, 45?
45.
45 guys who made this trek.
Yeah.
And we had always heard a story, growing up in the Pacific Northwest, Oregon, stuff like that. One of the guys that was with them, whether he was a slave or a ward of some sort or something like that. But he was an African-American, a black guy. And we'd always heard the stories of all that. So the Indians, that was they didn't understand skin color. And so when they found these Native American tribes and they were, going from tribe to tribe, and like the kids of the Native American tribes were always hyper focused and hyper fascinated on the black people that were traveling with the explorers.
It was new to them as well. We were meeting Native Americans. They were discovering people of different color. Was the trip supposed to be? I know it was to open up everywhere. So we had just bought this land. See how far we can go. Can we go by water? Can we? I understand that, but was a lot of it to negotiate with the Native Americans? I mean, it is their land. No matter what, we had a bill of sale, but they've been living there before we got that.
Mm-hmm.
So was it to negotiate peace treaties, trade? What was the actual reason for that?
I would assume that it was probably a combination of a lot of different things, but the nefarious part of it would be to see how many and how big of a conflict it's going to be with them when we start encroaching on their land, and then how
that's my guess.
Military equipped they are, how you know, what are they going to be fighting us with, whether it be, you know, mechanicals or you know, how advanced are they compared to us, because we have no idea. Would never know if he's ever met them and seen them. But also, you know, how hostile are they going to be if people are coming through there? You know, some of the tribes were not near as hostile. You know, some of them weren't very hostile at all, but some of them were super hostile. And so I think it was, you know, outside of the animals and the land and trying to get to the coast and get to the ocean and all that stuff. I think some of it was, you know, what do we need to be prepared to combat possibly all of these different things that we're going to run into along the way, because somebody's going to come and take that land. We paid for it. We have to figure out how to do it before the Spanish come up from California and Mexico and all that stuff. And we have to do it before, you know, the French and all them start coming down from, you know, Canada or whatever. And so I think it was all of it. And is it, you know, was it worth the purchase? Is there actually viable things there that we can, you know, use? I mean, obviously nobody knew about gold yet in those places, but
gold rush,
you know, we end up with gold rushes and we ended up with all these other things, and there was all these animals and all these furs, and then you found the buffalo where, you know, the wealthy people in New York ate their tongues, and the super wealthy people in France and Paris loved the fur, and so then they almost wiped buffalo off the species list.
People, we're not so great, are we?
No, we're not.
You know, but I also was wondering about, like, were they checking? They had to be checking for, like, atmospheric stuff and agricultural stuff, and you know, hey,
absolutely.
You know, where can we grow this and where can we grow that, and what can we kill and eat, and
can you survive the wintertime,
and how hard is it going to be? Yeah. I mean, we live in all those areas now, so that'll tell you.
Right. But I mean, I live in those areas and it's hard. I mean, it feels really difficult to try to survive the wintertime with modern technology and stuff like that. Like, I still have a hard time fathoming how anybody survived negative 40, 50 degrees in a tent wrapped in, you know, dried out buffalo hide or deer hide or some, you know, stuff like that. And then you got, you know, the animals that were more prevalent then that were, you know, probably starving in the middle of winter time. So then you got to fight them. I mean, it's just a lot of people died trying to survive the Pacific Northwest. And there's a reason. I mean, it's hard, especially then.
I think we'd learn, like, maybe we should just skip it, but no, not us.
Well, I mean, life expectancy back then was what, 30?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've gotten better as we've gotten, you know, acclimated and made advances, and we live in stone.
Sometimes I wonder, like, are human beings, were we supposed to live as long as we do now, and is the Earth actually able to accommodate what we have created as far as, like, how long we all live at this point, how many resources we use, and that kind of thing. But
well, they talk about that all the time, how we're overextending ourselves, and there won't be enough resources for us.
Well, and I mean,
then I wonder, because now they're saying that what is the Gen Z, I believe, is the 20-year-olds. They're not having children, and how will we populate the Earth?
Because it's always something. It's always
a good thing, though.
Yeah. No, it is. It should be. I think it is. But depends who you ask, I guess.
You know, but back then too, I mean, the life expectancy was shorter, but it wasn't necessarily naturally shorter. I mean, if you stole somebody's horse, they threw a rope over a tree branch, and that was your life. They didn't care if you were 17 years old, 20 years old.
Yeah.
The dysentery didn't care how old you were. The Indians, you know, killed everybody that was on the wagon train. They didn't. It didn't.
The game.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, all of these things. I mean, these were not necessarily. It's not like growing old and getting cancer or you know, growing old and dying. These were instances where mass amounts of people were being kind of wiped out.
Right.
Because of battles, war, terrain, nature. I mean, none of it was really natural. And so the life expectancy was really low.
Yep.
Right. No,
but you didn't have prisons when people were committing these crimes and doing all these things to each other. I mean, if somebody was a pickpocket on the street, that typically they got shot. True. As they were trying to do it. You know what I mean? I mean, there was courts, but they basically just either assigned you to death or not, and that happened the next day. I mean, there wasn't 20-year appeal processes like now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's definitely, I don't know. I guess we'll never know, like, well, what is natural? What is supposed to be?
Yeah.
Right.
We don't want to go into an existential spin. Right, because that's something I can do.
Right.
Easy.
I mean,
so
let's see. The Wild West worked, according to Ron. There are some ways. I guess what we've discussed on Land, Sea, and Air in space is we are naturally curious to see what else is out there. But like you said before, do the positives outweigh the negatives?
Right.
Right.
So
and arrogance makes us all want to be first, whether it's the first one below, first one above, or the first one across.
Right. And so it's like,
and
it's always like somebody else is going to get this if we don't take it.
Right.
And that's really.
And so then it becomes an at all cost. You know, whether it costs my life or not, it's worth the risk.
Right. Right. So
absolutely.
I mean, anyway.
So we're going to switch topics now to heroes, or should I say heroines? Because Lena, you wanted to talk about your favorite female heroines.
Yes, and my favorite. When I was growing up, I didn't. My mom told me. Of course, we had conversations about this when I was younger. We just grew up as Gen X at a really cool time because we, as women or as young girls, we just had some really cool heroines as characters in movies. And so I wanted to get into that because I'm not that I'm going to get into a crazy long story about it, but I was a very big fan of Carrie Fisher. And sure, she was Princess Leia, and that's how it started.
Yes.
But technically, I mean, let's start with her character and saying that I'm listening to a lot of her audiobooks right now. In her case, I don't want to read. I really want to hear her read to me. I loved her voice. She was very, just really articulate, really funny. Like she just came from a background and she had so many talents that she was a genuine miss for me. When she died, it was horrible. And the story of her and her mom dying a day apart is also very weird and very, I don't know. Doesn't happen very much in Hollywood. So
I agree.
You know, just being able to, as I was a kid, grow up and just watch different people that like probably 10 years before there wouldn't have been that kind of thing for girls, right? So I say my 4 favorite, but really I have 3 favorites, and one of them is of course Princess Leia, just because her character it wasn't, oh my God, what are we gonna do? I need to be rescued. She just wasn't like that. And
right.
You know, probably I don't know that Carrie Fisher would agree. To some degree, she just did take a lot of crap, and I don't think that Carrie Fisher did either, which I love. But that was just a cool character in like the late 70s to see, you know what I mean? And I don't know anything else. And so I guess I'd have to talk to somebody who's older than me. In this, like I said, my mom and I had a couple conversations about it, but it wasn't like that for girls growing up in the 60s or the 50s. I mean, there were some characters that were interesting, but anyway, one of my idol growing up would have had to be Ellen Ripley. That's just, I just love that character for a lot of reasons. I think her and I have the same personality, you know, in the sense that working out problems, trying to make sure things are okay, juggling a lot of things at once, being able to just walk into a place, pick up a gun, you know, learn how to use it, whatever, just adjusting to the environment, adjusting to which way the winds are going, that kind of thing. Just was a very cool character. Obviously, the Alien series wasn't always great.
Ripley.
Yeah. Right. The first and second movies were my favorite. And it looks like, I just wanted to bring it up because she looks like she's thinking about coming back and doing another Ripley something or other. I'm not really sure what they're going to call it. But so if I had to pick one, it would be her. But the other one that I love and I relate to, obviously not because I would ever be in that situation, would be Marion Ravenwood. I would have to love her, and that would have been Karen Allen.
Wow.
More. I guess maybe anybody who's around Harrison Ford for a little while was a thing for me. I don't know, but her character was amazing to me because she was a woman, but she wasn't a helpless woman. There were times that she kind of wanted to collaborate, and there were times where she kind of panicked, but a lot of her character was adventurous. You know what I mean? She would jump right in with you and try to get you out of a jam. I just liked her character. I loved it. And then there were some other ones. Linda Hamilton came along a little later.
That's who I thought you were going to say before you said Karen Allen.
I would say, though, that for me, Linda Hamilton wasn't as much of a warrior in the first movie as she was in the second one. And that kind of rolls us into the 90s. But she was an amazing role model for kids a little bit younger than me at the time. And so she definitely plays a part in it. And then there are just like general people that I love, right? That like I would have to say, you know, there were some roles that Kathleen Turner took on that I loved. And this is just general stuff. You got to see Sally Field and Norma Ray. You cannot possibly see her and not think.
In my mind, too, for that. Yeah.
You know, even Silkwood with Cher and Meryl Streep. And, you know, these are a lot of older movies that probably most people are like, what the heck are you talking about? Unless they're old enough to remember them. And was it North Country? Charlize Theron takes on a really great type of role most of the time. She's beautiful, but she goes for the gritty roles, and I love that about her.
Yes.
And so I have to throw her in there, especially for, like I said, I think it's North Country.
I think so.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to see, Linda Carter, I would say yes, Linda Carter, and I would even say Lindsay Wagner was very cool. Not necessarily movies, more a TV show thing, right? Charlie's Angels was fun. Charlie's Angels was always fun. And I'm throwing stuff out there. These are just a couple of characters that I wanted to name, but then anybody else you want to throw in from here that you can think of, right? That was not just your typical average woman character. Where she was cooking and cleaning.
Maddie Ross, who was... she was Kim Darby played her in True Grit 1969, but God, I'm going to space her name right now. The one she just married the Buffalo Bills quarterback. They did True Grit, 15 years ago with Matt Damon and Jeff Bridges and stuff like that. The 14-year-old girl that hires him that was sort of out of character.
Haley Steinfeld.
But
That's it.
you know,
I knew it'd come to me.
That
Definitely.
was,
And we have
but
another
in
good one now, too.
1969 with John Wayne having a 14-year-old girl, you know, however old she was in real life, but, you know, sharp-witted, determined, was the boss. She's paying him. You listen to me. That wasn't, I mean, very common.
Right. There are so many that I love. I mean, I even like, depending on the movie, like Goldie Hawn. I mean, I love her anyway. I love her in general. But some of her roles were a little less helpless. Some were not.
Right.
I do think she was trying to find her way, and I really have to go with Jane Fonda all around. I know a lot of people.
Oh wow, I forgot about her.
Yeah, a lot of people. She did a movie, and again, me and my horror movies, and me and my traumatic movies. She did a movie called Clute, which was really great. This was late 60s.
I know the name. Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's basically. Oh God, I think it was. I'm trying to remember if it was Michael Caine or not. I know that I always confuse this movie with Body Double, and I don't know why. I shouldn't, but I do, because they're kind of similar. They're not from the same year, but they have a similar theme. But anyway, she plays a prostitute in Clue, but she's trying to find somebody who killed a friend of hers.
Mm-hmm.
This whole thing where she goes to a psychologist and she deals with, you know, a detective and all this other stuff to find out who it was that did this. And she was very cool in that movie. I don't know. She was just cool as far as she was upset and things were going wrong for her, but she was determined to like vindicate her friend and make sure that her friend was avenged, basically. Oop, avenged. I'm using big words now. My coffee must be working. So I do like her, and there are a couple of roles that she was. I would say that most of her life there have been roles that I've loved about her that she's played. And so she's another person who plays characters that I appreciate.
How about Susan Sarandon?
I would say, yeah. So Thelma and Louise is one of my favorite movies.
Of course.
I don't know that it's superhero idol type stuff. But it's very cool in that it was written. Obviously, the person who wrote that movie was really more interested in the female gaze and the female side of things, right? And as far as them being on the law, being on the run, and ending up being outlaws is very cool. But they were also just like, I do like that because they were kind of like regular women that were just minding their own business and decided.
And you look at her in Bull Durham, where it's also a strong woman character who's, you know, is not going to take any crap.
True. She's actually been in quite a few movies like that. So I should actually add her. Like I said, this is off the cuff. This topic is like one of those, are we going to do it or not? Because Ira and I go 5 hours when we do something. And then you throw JP in and we figure we should be here till tonight at 6 o'clock.
Even longer.
I was like, we're not going to get to this topic. So I had a couple of people that I wanted to mention, and then I wanted to kind of open it up the topic for like, who do you think? I'm sure that later on, people like Sarah Michelle Gellar became a big deal for people, and there were a lot of later
Brie Larson.
Although
in Room, and in obviously she became superhero.
Right. I don't actually. You're gonna think I'm crazy. Well, I've told you this before, but I don't like superhero movies. I don't. I don't like them. I don't like Marvel. I don't like DC. I don't like any.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer. I guess we can throw her in there too, because she's got it's the stupidest thing, but Grease 2, which is a cheesy movie.
Mm-hmm.
But she is the most feminist character ever. If you get a chance to go back and watch her lines in that movie.
Well, she does a lot of movies where, in I Am Sam, cool. She's like a high-powered lawyer. She was Catwoman in the old Tim Burton Batman. She was. Yeah, she was. There's just a bunch of different movies where she's pretty strong like that. What was the other one that just went through my head?
Even in Scarface, she was pretty much in your face.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't go well for her as far as who she was as a character, but she let people have it in that movie, so it was pretty cool. What was the movie? She did a movie, I think, where she was like... her husband was like a mob guy, and they went undercover. I'm trying to remember.
Married to the Mob?
No, there was a funny movie that she did. That was her.
Oh, We Are the Millers?
Mercedes.
No.
No.
With Robert De Niro, though.
Yeah, it was with De Niro. Where he kind of goes undercover as like a writer, and they go to some town, and they're like this New York mob family, and they're trying to like I don't know if they're in the witness protection program or what they're
Something.
doing, but she plays the wife at that time, and some of the funniest stuff that she says, and it's actually pretty cool. It's funny, but it's not a comedy.
Right.
The Family.
The Family.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Okay.
Yep. It's so
Helen
generic.
Bonham
but
Carter
that's
always
what-
tends to play a stronger.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yep. I would actually throw Keira Knightley in here too. I would.
Mhm.
Not you're like, I mean, I'm a big
Anne
fan.
Hathaway.
Yeah, I would say Anne Hathaway. I would. Not in everything, but she there are a couple roles that she played that I like. I wouldn't like I said I don't know that I would say that she's like an idol, at least for me, because I'm a lot
No.
older, so she wouldn't have been my generation. But
She's too
Meryl
young.
Streep in Devil Wears Prada, absolutely. Best Anna
Okay, so let's
Wintour
go back then.
You know,
You want to go back? We'll go back to Pam Grier.
Pam Grier, yes. Yep. Pam Grier. Yep, she was good. And like I said, I'm trying to think of Pam Grier reminds me of, we're getting into female feminists and then we're rolling into Gloria Steinem, which really isn't a character, but I absolutely love Gloria. If I ever meet Gloria Steinem, I'll probably pass out. She'll probably hurry up. But yeah. So there's a lot of, I'm trying to think of characters that, I mean, I guess when you're looking at TV, you're going to bring up Mary Tyler Moore, and you're going to bring up, Mary Tyler Moore is an amazing person and character, and a lot of the things that she did, even stuff like, although it wasn't an idol role, but she did really well in like Ordinary People and movies like that. But
Lucy.
Yep, definitely
Oh,
Lucy.
absolutely.
Lucy was one
Betty
of the
White.
biggest behind-the-scenes feminists ever, and Betty White was.
Bea
as well.
Arthur.
And so was Dolly Parton.
Tina Turner.
Oh, Dolly Parton. Yeah.
Tina Turner. I mean, we're going into characters or people that are just in the industry. I definitely think Tina Turner and Cher are two of my biggest favorites. And Carol Burnett. I love Carol Burnett.
Oh,
my God,
so do
love her.
I.
Yeah.
We could go on and on and
Yes, we
on,
could.
and I think we could.
We're keeping
But,
it on a light note.
So you know what? Go on. Maybe that could be next month's poll. If you go to RhodeIslandBroadcasting.net, we have the Hall of Fame vote for best TV show of all time. Maybe next will be, favorite heroine of all time, but that's up to Ron.
It is.
But we hope you enjoyed this week, which was Explorers Week. I believe next week is going to be Wildlife Week on Going On Daily.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes. Guys, do you have anything to plug this week?
Other than following my Facebook page and
Well,
checking
give it
out
out.
my podcast. So my Facebook page is DJ Lena Williams. If you're watching, if you're on Facebook right now, you're probably watching it because I'm live there anyway. And also we have our podcast, which is Lena and Dave, www.lenaanddave.com, which I'm still trying to figure out what to do with. But we have a ton of podcasts up there that I want you to check out. And I think that's going to be it.
Okay. JP, do you have anything you want to plug? Social media, anything?
Not today. I don't think so.
But there's something coming?
Oh, maybe. I mean, the holidays are coming, but
There we go.
Well, this is my busiest time of year, so real world work kind of takes precedent because we got to wrap everything up before wintertime comes, and so it's a ton of outside work. And then when wintertime hits, then I have more time to do the indoor online stuff, and so I kind of have my ebbs and flows depending on the season.
Okay. For myself, you can check out the Circling the Drain podcast. It's a comedy show that I do with a couple of friends of mine. It is also airing on the Rhode Island Broadcasting Network. So you can check out that and all the other great shows that are on there. Meanwhile, tomorrow you join us. It says it's Ron and Kenny tomorrow. The Dream Team are back together. I'm sure Ron will have another top 5 that'll make a few of us question Ron's sanity. But, it's fun to go there.
Always.
And if you need some fun, join us because we've got it going on daily. Bye, guys.
Have a good day.